So we were looking at this on the monthly, and this is the line that we popped. And like you can see, like it comes down here, like it's bouncing, you know, obviously a monthly, line that you're popping is not going to be super accurate. But you can see that it's like this is a start. Like if you were planning something here, trying to understand what was happening, this is a start. You'll hone that in little by little and get more and more like detailed information. And I think it's really important to, let's just say, for instance, if I knew this was a level of importance, right? Like this EQ that we marked on the monthly, I'm not gonna plan a trade 50 or 100x on this, with a super tight stop loss or anything like that, and expect it to go to the moon. I'm gonna do lower leverage. I'm gonna adjust my risk amount, my leverage, all of those things, my stop loss. Those all have to be adjusted for the time frame in which you find the level. And that's not to say that it won't hit to the dollar. Sometimes they will, but more times than not, that will just not be the case. For instance, let's say that this was the level that we wanted to take for a long, right? And let's say like from there to there, like that's 2.5%. So you're not having a 2.5% stop loss on 100x or even 50x or even 25, to be honest. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean about adjusting expectations. Let me go back real quick. We're definitely due for a pullback, like I've been saying. So let me change the way these lines look because it's kind of a little confusing the way in which they are. That makes them like a little less confusing on this time frame because there's so much going on. So this is our move down, and this is where we're at now. Now, this is the EQ of that. This being a monthly, obviously, again, not super accurate, but we could easily pull back up to all the way up to here. You know what I mean? For sure. I don't think that's possible in this massive downtrend. I do think it is possible that this may be the bottom and we may have a sweep. Like I've been saying, I think we are still going to have a sweep a little below this and then go up. But this thing has been primed to pull back. And this is the level that I've been saying that I was thinking it was going to pull back from. It's right around here. So I just wanted to kind of give some perspective of like the overall like move on this high time frame, right? So let me get rid of that and let's go down the time frame. Now, I think what is, not more important, but more relevant in this move is from here to there. And see, this is why I had that level right there. Because one, it is a level on, I believe, the daily or the 4 hour, like this high right here. I think this is, just gonna, let me do it this way. Freaking Zoom thing keeps getting in the way. But I think this is a 4 hour. Okay, yeah, it's the daily high that rejects off of that there. It moves down.
So this might be the beginning of that pullback then.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because you certainly have this as the high on this time frame, but what I always say about like two consecutive candles. So if we're trying to isolate the weekly right now, right? This was the high. All these are distribution candles, and we have one accumulation candle. Now, this was a move on. I'm just going to move this guy over here, and then I'm going to put a box. This right here to this was a range on that lower time frame. We'll look at it on the daily, and then the 4 hour, and then the 1 hour. So, like, see, like you can start to see that range on the daily, and then it'll be even more apparent on the 4 hour, more information rather. See if they'll let us go back to one. See, it's just more and more information that we're getting, you know. So, like, it's fractal stuff is really confusing in the beginning, and it always will be to a degree. But you just have to learn how to look at bodies, wicks, and things like that. You know what I mean? And learn how to isolate and information on one time frame and create rules for each time frame, and just assign that the relevance accordingly to your overall plan. That I'm telling you, that's the hard part, is like learning how to adjust all of these different things. It's not easy, and you gotta, take into account, like, what kind of trade do I want? I want a scalp, do I want a swing trade or a position? All those things. It's balance. I mean, that's life in general, right? It's just balance, learning how to balance things. So yeah, so to kind of go back, I do think personally that this could be the area that we pull back from and have our pullback. um I was kind of expecting here, but this was kind of like a little safe kind of bet in the short term. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not coming all the way up to here and then pulling back. It could do like this. I mean, it could come here and then, bounce like this and then kind of come up, and it could do this. I mean, there's so many things that it can do, and there's not a single person on the planet that's going to be able to tell you what it is going to do. Nobody. This like area, like in here, is certainly going to get hit, at some point in the future. Is it going to be in a week or, 6 months? Nobody's going to be able to tell you that. But this is a range in here, and this is like the kind of final point for that range right there. There's nothing that really tells me for sure that's going to happen. Like, I think that, like this area right here, right in here, like, trying to, I think that's the area that's going to elicit like a really, big pullback, and we may already be in it. It may have just come shy because this is a weekly time frame. And I
What's it
think
looking like on a lower time frame?
if we're looking at it on this time frame, like, what did this achieve in the grand scheme of things? Like, it broke out of this range for sure. Like, it broke out of all this, which is that's huge. That's a big deal, and I really, man, it's looking more and more like it is going to be moving up. I don't think that it's doing so right now. God, I hate that freaking paintbrush. Hate that. Okay, I don't think that it's doing it now. Now, once it closes above this, like on a daily or weekly, when it closes above that on a daily, or let me just kind of make this stand out. There we go. Just make that stand out. Make it orange. Oops. I'm going to go that way. There we go. Yeah, I think when it closes above this on a daily, like that's going to be huge. But it's also going to depend on like what does it do on the way down. Like, let's for instance, if it comes up here, closes above this big orange line on the daily, back to that time frame, and it closes above this, but then it loses like all these things going down and it closes below them, like it's kind of mostly negated what it just did, right? So it hasn't done that yet on the downside. Get back here, get rid of some stuff, and then there we go. So we were down
Clarify
here.
what you mean by that, Coin. You know, it hasn't done that yet.
Well, it hasn't done that from like say this point moving forward. Like it's closed below this, but then it immediately broke it here. You see what I mean? So like on our daily breakup structure, this was our high and this was our low. And I've been waiting for it to have like a pullback that I would deem a daily pullback. I think this will be it. I'm still not marking it. This is not it for me. Like this was not a pullback on the daily for me. It's just like this is such a small percentage. I mean, it's 9% on the daily. Like this is a daily pullback, you know. I think this is the beginning of it. I just like that's not it. Like that's just ranging on a lower time frame, like a 4 hour. You know what I mean? Like this is just a 4 hour range in here.
Yeah.
This I think is important. That's why I kind of have this levels. I'm thinking that it's likely. I think it's likely going to bounce around this area and then go up. I think that it's going to likely go up and probably bounce around here, around this EQ. And what's so fascinating is like, if you look at this, this was like a major area of like resistance right here, right? On the 4 hour, it's bouncing, it's bouncing, and it's coming up and it broke out of that and then it bounced off of that, right? And at this point in time, this is the low and this is the high. But back here, we didn't know that this was going to be the low. And look, that's the EQ. It's literally bounced off the EQ, but we didn't know that this was going to be the low at this point in time.
That's strange the way that happens. It's
Isn't
before
it?
it's almost like before it's created, it's already
And
to that level.
yeah, and to me, that's why like I use the fib tool in this way. Like I don't use like the fib levels. Not to say that they're not valuable in some way. I mean they are, but this is just what tells it. Like everything is reactionary to everything in the past. And if it started out doing a thing, it's like I'm trying to think of a way. Okay, I got a way. So if you're on the interstate, you're in traffic, and there's an accident, and traffic gets backed up, it's bumper to bumper, and it takes you an hour to get somewhere it would have taken you 5 or 10 minutes to get to. They can clear up that accident, get everything off of the road, but that chain reaction will last for hours and hours and hours afterwards. After everything is gone, it's just kind of like a thing. It's like dominoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of look at like charts and trading like that as well. All right. So on the daily, like we had this high and then we created this low, right? Now, you can see as it comes down here, like it's kind of responding to the things in here. And again, this is like a high time frame, so it's not going to be like, exact. But as it comes back up, it's fighting the same things inside of these ranges. So for instance, if I come over here, and this is just like for reference, and pull my measuring tool from here to here, and this is the EQ of that, and I'm going to pop a line here, right there, and I'll make this a little more normal. Make that down there. So you can see like that was really important in here, and that's a lower time frame. Okay, now look, when we go down, just leave that there, to this. See, I'll just give you a zoomed in look at it right there, just to see what it looks like on like a lower time frame. Okay, now this is the 4-hour. So we have this, right now we have this move up. We break out of this. Come on. We back test like probably I would say like if I go from here to here. Oops. Sorry. Really zoomed in. So this was our range, and we were fighting this in here. We came up, we back tested that and moved out. Now, this is our low on this time frame, right? Like on, immediate low. I'm really trying to simplify things here, but you can see here as it's moving up. Okay, let's think about it like this. Let's just say we're at this point in time, right? We just made this low. We don't know that's our low yet, right? And we don't know that this is going to be our high over here, correct? So we don't know this is going to be our high, but we do know at this point in time, this is the low that we just made. We don't know it's not going to do this though and come down and lose that. Now watch how it reacts. So let's look at that. So it comes up, and this is the first, quarter mark, and it bounces off of that. And then look what it's like bouncing around here is the EQ of that. We still don't know this is our high at that point in time. We don't know it's going to stop here. We could glean that information from the past information, the past data that we have. So this is my point in all this, is saying like everything is just reactionary to the things in the past. And this is why I think this tool is so important, because it kind of helps simplify it. I know it kind of sounds stupid. It's like, well, it's not really simple because it's just a lot of things, but let's let it play out a little bit. Put it right there. You see that? Again, we still don't know that this is going to be the high, and it's bouncing right off of that. But we do know that was the high, which is essentially the same thing. So this is what I'm saying right here. This was a high, and it's bouncing off of that, but it's also this quarter mark of this whole move, even though we don't know where this is going to end. So let's go one more. Oh, look right there. That is our high that we've marked. And then look what it comes back to again. Bam, right there. Now, just on a little side note, if I were to kind of mark this high and this low, you see how important like these points are in there? You see how it's kind of reacting to those same things? Let me stretch it out a little bit.
as well. Yeah.
This is just the same thing happening on a much lower time frame. I would probably say like a 15-minute or 1 hour, you know, it's the exact same thing. So let me go back, and back one more. Okay, and let's see where we're at. Let it right out there. Again, sweeping it. And then come down. Bam. Okay. So if we look at this on a lower time frame, this was our range in here. From here to here. I'm just going to pull it all the way over here. That's the EQ of this range, which is, like I said, I think it's a 15-minute, like the really important one on this kind of a bit of information is a 15-minute. And we're starting to lose these things. Like, yeah, we gained it here. And that's why like this area is so important, is because once we start losing this down here, like that's a big step. This was the first step, losing this EQ, which we just have, right? We lost that. Now we're going to see what happens up here. If we come up here and we close above this, then okay, maybe we're safer now as far as going up. But if we come up here and we bounce and reject off of that and then come down and close below this, that's when we know we're coming down further, you know. And don't mind the time frame. Like it's the same thing on every time frame. It's just the amount of time that it takes for it to do that thing is what changes. Like our expectations, the amount of leverage, the amount of money, the amount of time, you know, the amount of percentage profits that we expect from those things. That's what we have to adjust. That's what's so important. This being the EQ on this, I think if we lose this, like ultimately we're coming down here in this area. And then we have to kind of play that by ear and just kind of see what's happening. But see this higher time frame. We move this here. Say that's that, and then pull this down there. So this is a higher time frame. So I've lost some of my accuracy, right? But it's still the exact same thing. It's fighting it. It's fighting it. You know, close above it. It's fighting it. Bounces. I bet you that is right around the EQ of this. So I'll pop that. Pull this over here. There. Yep. Bam. See it? I don't know if I can. There we go. So that is the EQ of this range in here, which is just a lower time frame. And then that's going to disappear, but you can see it's trying to bounce off of that, closes below it a little bit, bounces, and we're bouncing again. So I would say in the immediate future, I think that, you know, if this is indeed the low for now, which I think it probably is, I think we're going to come back up to here, like this one. If the move down has a lot of strength, we'll come up to around here and then lose this. And then we're going to start fighting this.
It's
kind
not
of,
24, is it?
yeah, this area, yeah. Yeah. Let me look at my chart real fast. Yeah. See, like I'm still just I don't, this is what I think we've been heading towards this whole time. And we may come up to that. I mean, this is, like I said, this is a daily, and it's also on the weekly, I believe, and the monthly. We're not going to have accuracy like on a 1 minute, but it's reliable. You know, it's kind of more guaranteed. It's just a little looser, so to speak. So I think ultimately, minimally, we're coming back down into this previous range right here. Let me highlight it there to there. I think we're coming back down to here, and we're going to have to just monitor things and look at it and see what happens and adjust like what we think at that point. As of right now, yes, this move looks really good, but if we kind of really zoom out, I mean, we're not, nothing is set in stone that we're moving up, in my opinion, because this is just a giant. This is a big failure here. This failed to gain that, and we lost the low that created, this high, and we haven't even gained the EQ of the EQ. So, for instance, like what I mean by that is if we have here to here, this is the EQ of that entire move down. And then this right here is the EQ of like the minor structure, this right here.
And I've seen, from your demonstrating this several times, previous videos, the EQ is the most important level I can see. Whenever you
For
do
sure.
this, yeah, definitely, it's that's the most significant level of all, isn't it, to watch when you map this out with the Fib tool.
Yeah. And like more important, well, not necessarily more importantly, but to understand is like when I mark like these, let me go over to here. So when I mark these, let me get rid of this there. So when I mark these, what you want to understand is like these are like quarter marks here. This is the EQ of this move. This is like a quarter mark, and this is the end point. These are all like EQs on other time frames. So like I'm just gonna, and this is a daily, so they're not going to be exact when we go down because that's the whole accuracy thing, right? But let me just mark.
Sure,
And
we
I'm
go
just
down in time frames to get
yeah,
more accuracy, don't we?
right. But we lose like power and reliability as well, so that's also important.
And there
It's
is a
just not,
video on your channel, isn't he, showing this Fib tool, how you
yeah.
customized it.
So I'm gonna mark those, right, and I'm gonna get rid of, well, I'll just leave it. I'll leave it. It shouldn't be too cluttered up. So where this is a daily, and we'll just skip the 12-hour. And so these are the same ones. Yeah, I think I will have to actually get rid of this, but I'll pop another one here just to. Yeah, this is good. So this to this was the EQ here. You see what that bounced off of right there? Let me pull this over here to better explain that. There we go. So I'm marking between that blue line and that orange line, which is 25% of that move up, right? Now, this is the EQ of that orange line and that turquoise line right there. This is what it bounces off of. You see?
Yeah.
Now let's do it again. Let's look at, I'm trying to get these as close as I can, but I'm not going to sit there and, go crazy. But okay, so this was the next 25% of the move up. Look at the EQ on this move. Right there, right there. And then boom, closes above it on this. Comes back down to this. It's failing to close below this, which is just another EQ. So let me it's just in the range, like on a smaller time frame, rather. Let's look at that. I don't know how far back we are in time. This between that one, like it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's just that's fractal nature. Let's go back to where we were. 1, 2, 3. Oops. I didn't mean to open that. I'm sorry.
These patterns are repeating again and again on lower time frames, are they?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. Because it's all like, that's my point. It's like it's all reactionary. It's all reactionary. If it happened in the past, it's going to continue to happen to some degree or another. Always. Like that's just, you can go back 30 years in gold charts, it's the same thing. And it's not, man, it's so complex, but it's, a lot of people say, oh, it's self-fulfilling prophecy, or it's just, the footprints of the market makers and this and that. It's the psychology. It's all of those things. You know what I mean? I think it's just like how you see like the Fibonacci sequence and like seashells and leaves and all these things in nature. I think this is no different. Like, we are a part of nature, and not to be like, oh, woo woo or anything, but I mean, it just stands to reason that this is repetitive kind of thing in the universe, so it's repetitive in us as well. And whatever we touch is, we're gonna have that same effect on things. Is kind of where I'm at right now, the way in which I think about it,
Absolutely.
for whatever sense that makes.
So, by understanding past market structure, we can predict future price movement if we can,
Mm-hmm.
analyze this and get a grip of it using these tools.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's what a lot of indicators are meant to do. And some of them, like, they do it okay. It just depends on, I think indicators can be great. I don't use them, but they can be good. It just depends. Like, I think the problem with indicators is people expect too much out of them, as they do themselves and their knowledge when applying TA and planning trades. And I think you just need to use like those things accordingly, as well as like we need to use like our skill level accordingly, and our account size and all those things. Again, it always boils back down to balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, like here, this was that top quarter mark here that I had, and I just measured from here to here. Just a random high and a low, fractal low time frame. This was the EQ on this little micro time frame. I mean, this is like 1 minute, range here. And then what is between here and here. You see what I'm saying? Like it's you can keep going. You can go down to the second charts.
Yeah.
You just we have to just adjust our expectations and not try to bend reality to our like will and desires. You know what I mean? Which is a really difficult thing to do. And see, now we're really zoomed out. We were just looking at this in here. Yeah, like we were just like really right in those little two candles right there. But it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all the same. So like I really, for me, what helped me was doing these kind of things, just like marking. Let me remove everything off of this. For me, what really helped me was just be like, okay, let me go to a monthly. All right, this is a high. We'll just call this one like the high, and this was like a low, and then I would kind of adjust that. And what I would do is I would just go and look. Okay, what was this? Like what was it on lower time frames? Let me look at a weekly. Okay, and look at it and try to understand it and like what's happening here. And then I would keep going. And I would mark things along the way, you know. I would mark like closes and opens and wicks, and essentially closes and opens, they're pretty much just lows and highs of other time frames. That's what it is right there. I know it's further back here, but that's kind of the time thing, but it's right there. That's just a low on this time frame. Whereas what we were just looking at, it was a candle close. What we got there. See? That is what really made things less confusing to me. Not to say that they're not confusing anymore, because they're always going to be confusing, and that's okay. That's a good thing that keeps your ego in check, But doing those kind of little exercises and experimenting and not just relying on what anybody else says is really important. Like I think it's been the most beneficial thing for me, is learning to kind of rely on myself more and just being creative and experimenting with things, and just inquisitive. That's what, nobody that wants to make money off of other people learning this, or they're not going to say, um, so I guess that's my takeaway for the day.